Um, here in the open room, they had a fairly straightforward auction. Two clubs was Drury, and Drury seems to be bid a lot more aggressively nowadays. It's often anything from a good constructive raise to a limit raise to I'm bored and want to bid two clubs. That's, but so the main thing that stood out to me here was Steve, your choice of opening lead here. What were your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I thought it was a tough problem. I mean, Gavin didn't double two clubs, so I wasn't going to lead a club. And we were white against red, so if Gavin had like a pretty decent five card suit, I mean, he didn't open in third seat, and he had a pretty easy overcall of two clubs if he had a decent like five card suit. So it seemed to me that a heart was a combination of aggression and also got what was the most likely tap suit going because I was envisioning shortening Declarer's trumps and taking control of the trump suit, even though leading from Jack fourth itself was pretty unattractive.
Yeah, that was sort of what I was wondering about because Jack Fourth is certainly not an opening lead that everyone dreams about. But
Right, right.
yeah, and today it actually solved a few problems for Declarer in sort of a weird way. We can follow the playthrough, and so Gavin won the first heart and switched to a diamond, but Declarer had plenty of time to, take his diamond roughs and could afford to lose one trump, so he lost a trick in every suit except for clubs.
Yeah.
Now,
Go back 1 second though. Go back to where Declarer plays the diamond out of his hand. I was envisioning this spot if Gavin winning this diamond and shifting to a trump, which I was hoping would apply some more pressure on Declarer, where he was going to get to a position where it wasn't going to be so easy for him to rough the two diamonds. Where if he tried to rough a club back to his hand, if he at some point, I was going to over rough and play the third trump.
right, and that would have potentially been very deadly.
Right.
Well,
That
he
was
only needs to rough one diamond, right? Because he has one
Yeah, he
pitch.
only needed to rough one, exactly.
right. It wouldn't have worked, but it was what I was hoping for.
I thought it was just more likely that I was going to be giving away a trump trick by playing a trump at this point because I knew that it wasn't going to work. I could see that he had a discard on the king of clubs, so there was there was no it was just throwing away an over trick. It looked like from my perspective.
Right.
Yes, and so
If you didn't have the ten of spades, I'm saying.
right, if you'd had just Jack Fourth or whatever else your spade holding might have been, I guess it was vaguely possible you could have still had something more than Jack Ten Fourth, and that might have been finessed and turned two
Yeah, not
tricks into
not not
one.
really. There were no high card points left in the deck. It was kind of
Yeah, I guess at that point he's marked with the Queen of Clubs since he didn't lead his singleton as well. And so moving over to the other table now, they had the same auction, and except that South chose to lead a diamond instead, which is a very aggressive lead.
Right.
And
So South led a third and fifth best diamond, and I was able to read that the diamonds were actually 3-4 because you can see it at trick two. If you advance to play one more trick. So at this point, I know that he didn't underlead from King Queen fifth, so it must have been from honor third. So at this point, my general plan was to rough two diamonds and make a pitch on the king of clubs to get rid of one of my hearts, hoping to lose the diamond that I lost at trick one, one heart, and one spade. So I roughed a, let's see, I continued to play, roughed a diamond, crossed back to hand with a club, and now I roughed a diamond. And so South pitched as a queen of clubs here, which is kind of scary. It looks like, he might be out of clubs now, and he might actually be able to rough out, if I try to catch the king of clubs, he might be able to rough it. So at this point, what I did in practice was I led the king of clubs, figuring it might be rough, but even if it's roughed, I catch the queen of spades first. Um, or I see. I actually let a low club, roughing it, figuring I could catch the king of clubs later. I don't think it. I'm not sure it would have mattered if I had tried to catch the king of clubs at that point.
I'm not sure. Let's go back for a second. And
Well, let's see. If I catch the king of clubs, he can rough. I can pitch a heart, and he roughs
he
it.
can rough and
plays back
plays
a
a heart,
heart.
and you're in the same position.
I'm in the same position, but it turns out, well, just yeah, it turns out at this point, if I simply duck a heart, at this point, someone's going to win the king. North will win the king here, and he can lead back a club for partner to score his rough. But on that, I can pitch my other heart, and then I'll be able to rough a heart back to hand and draw the trumps. It turns out that if I duck a heart at this point, it doesn't really matter who wins this trick. I've only lost one trick so far. The worst that can happen is that maybe North wins it and plays a club for South to rough, but I'll have an entry back to my hand, roughing the third heart. It's kind of an interesting play. It turns out that holding the queen of hearts in my hand didn't really, at this point it doesn't. I don't need it at all.
Right. In fact, you very well might have found the play if you had had 3 low hearts in your hand.
Exactly, because my logic was, well, yes, leading a club, there's some danger, but for it to be wrong, South has to have 4 spades and North has to have the king of hearts.
Right. I mean, the queen of club pitch was certainly a warning sign, but
Yeah.
whether at that point you did actually have sort of an interesting safety play.
Right. So I thought this was a pretty cool end position that I would have liked to get right, but it's good to see it, certainly.
Anything else here, or go ahead and move on?
Sure. Move on. That's fine.
All right. So moving on to board 4, we have a fairly standard modern upgrade here. The modern trend is to sort of be opening a lot of the good 14s with 1-no, and while some might not classify this as the greatest 14, it's still quite a decent hand, and with a 6-card minor, it's certainly worth the upgrade. And so both Steve and Gavin defended this hand very nicely in 2 spades. There's not really much in the auction here, but
I like the 1-no. I like the 1-no bid. You have positional values in 3 suits. And
Yeah, I opened 1-no as well in the other room. I can tell you my reasoning. I'm right within range. We played a good 14 to 17, and my alternative rebid, is going to be to rebid 2 diamonds, which it's not a great diamond suit, and I don't know. It's the kind of hand maybe partner without a diamond fit won't want to bid, but maybe we can actually make 3-0 on power.
right, and also I guess a 5-2 major suit fit seems quite reasonable here, especially facing a singleton diamond like you were.
yeah,
And so
I like it.
the play in 2 spades was quite interesting, actually. This was one of my favorite defenses of the match, actually. But so Declare started, Steve started with the queen of spade lead, and Declare 1 ace to preserve his entries to his hand, planning on setting up the diamond suit. But when he let a diamond, Gavin won and fired a heart through the ace and 1. And so, the previously frozen heart position from Steve's side was no longer frozen. And so now,
I thought for a while before when I played the trick too. It was weird because I knew Steve was giving me suit preference with the diamond, but the 5 was a ridiculously low card. Look, it didn't seem like it was a high diamond, but the problem was that there just seemed like there weren't too many hands that a club could ever beat this hand. And a heart, if the 5 was high, but it was like so unlikely that it was high, but it just seemed like if the 5 was high and Declare did have king 6, I just couldn't build a hand that I could beat it on a club back.
Yeah, it was a very nice heart shift.
Yeah, and certainly not a attractive shift looking at Jack 10 third. But,
Well, I mean, if I knew that Steve was saying he liked hearts, or even if it was in a vacuum, like I can see that there's a clear cut line to beating this hand. I know at trick 1 basically that Steve's got Queen Jack 10 of spades, and so our best route to getting to 6 tricks, one of the things we have to do is separate our trump tricks. So and we can't do that in clubs or diamonds. In clubs, there's not going to be a chance for us to separate our trumps. In clubs, it's possible if Steve had 4 clubs and Declare had 2, that we could play club, 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 and then play a 4th round of clubs, which I could rough with the 9. But that wasn't that likely. But in hearts, if Steve has ace queen third of hearts, or ace and 1 heart, or I wasn't really queen 4th of hearts wasn't really the standout holding that I was thinking about. There are a lot of ways that we could try to get Steve a rough, maybe a 4th round heart rough even. That we'd have a chance to score 2 trump tricks. It seemed like we needed 2 trump tricks to beat this hand.
Mm-hmm. It was a very well judged shift. And so now at this point, when Steve returned to heart, you did well to dock, which at this point, your heart here, Steve, is count?
Right.
Yes.
Standard present count.
All right. Excellent. And then, so now Declarer tried to set up the diamonds, but after doing this, when he played a club, Steve made an excellent play. And so, what was your reasoning behind ducking the ace of clubs?
Well, I mean, I knew he had either king jack of clubs or king queen jack of clubs. There was not enough points for him to not have at least the king of clubs. So winning the club certainly makes the hand play easier for him no matter what, and it gives me control rather than giving Declarer control. So it's just sort of a standard expert play to duck when you know it's not going to help you to win. Excellent.
And so now at this point, Declarer actually had an interesting problem. And so since you ducked the club, he was somewhat locked in his hand. If he plays a diamond, you have a chance to separate your trumps or get some sort of a rough slough. And if he plays a club, he's giving up a club trick. And if he tries to cash his trump, then he's faced with a similar problem just a trick later.
Mm-hmm.
But today the winning play is to play a diamond now as opposed to cashing the king of trump. But today Declarer cashed the king of trump. And now when he played a diamond, you were able to shed your club, and now dummy was just tapped out. And so 2 spades finished 1 down, which was a series of excellent plays on defense.
Yeah, I have a couple more points on this hand. First of all, I'm pretty sure this was written up by the Declarer on Bridge Winners with a very good write-up. So I don't know if we could put the link up there, but if you look on the Bridge Winners site and you look for board 4, it's a very worthwhile read. And I'd like to go back to the trick when he let a diamond off a dummy, if you don't mind, Adam.
Sure. Very early on in the hand?
Yeah, when he leads the singleton diamond off a dummy.
All right.
All right.
There we are.
Now, Gavin had pointed out that my card's a suit preference card here, which I completely agree. But it might sound as if we were contradicting what we said on the board before, where we both thought we would give count when Eugene and Ari actually play suit preference. The difference to us on a hand like this is we're looking at the singleton and dummy. So even though there are possibilities that the count are going to come into play, far more frequently it's going to be a suit preference situation, because unlike board 3, we're not looking to kill the suit. And that's why we would both be thinking suit preference.
Right. And in addition, there's also a little bit of the aspect of Declarer having a known amount of entries to his hand as well.
Sure. Absolutely.
Count plays in general tend to be far more useful when you're trying to either cut Declarer off from dummy or create some problems for Declarer getting to dummy. Whereas here, Declarer is known to have a lot of extra values.
And it's not that I wanted to ask for a heart because I didn't know what the right play was. The 5 is a more neutral card than the 4. The 4 is absolutely the lowest card outstanding, and the 5 at least gives Gavin options of what card to
Right.
play.
If I saw the 4, I could not have shifted to a heart because the 4 was the lowest card in the deck. I know now Steve is actually he's chosen to play his lowest card as a signal. Like that, whenever you see the lowest or highest card, you know that that's partner's most extreme signal. So the fact that he didn't play the 4 left open the possibility to me that he had chosen to play the 5 rather than the 4. He might have had, some holding like Queen 10 5 4. That was sort of in the ball game for what I was hoping for when I shifted to a heart. Some holding where he didn't want to play a higher card because he wasn't sure. Exactly like Steve said. Like he didn't want to scream for a heart, but he chose not to play the 4. If I saw the 4, I would not have played a heart.
Right,
Yeah,
but I think this is also sort of a new concept to some people as well, which is the general concept of signaling. You don't want to make the in-between signal. You want to sort of commit one way or the other. But
Right.
in this case, sort of the non-committal, I don't know what to do. What do you think is right? Is very important.
And one
So
of
if
the
you had-
great proponents of that, and he's written about it in a few places, is Michael Rosenberg. He really believes in not making definitive signals when you don't have a definitive statement to make, and playing middle cards and leaving a lot more flexibility for interpretation.
So if you had something like Queen 8-7, you're saying you likely would have played the 7.
Correct.
So should we go on to the other room?
Sure. Alrighty. So in the other room, the same auction.
Same auction. The play at
Same
trick
lead.
1 was
Yes.
a little different. I decided
Go towards there.
I decided for the same reason that we saw, I really wanted to lose the lead to south, not to north. So, the Queen of Spades lead, it looks like it's from Queen Jack, maybe Queen Jack 10, maybe Queen Jack tight, with some ugly hand that didn't want to lead anything else. So, so I decided to win the king in hand and then duck a spade.
Yeah. So
To south, just in case south had only a doubleton to force him to be on lead. Is the video going?
yeah.
So anyway, I won the king, played a spade, ducked it, and then he exited the 10 of spades, so I won the ace. So I'm back.
No, he exited a heart.
Oh, he
Doesn't
did
seem
exit.
like it doesn't seem like
Yeah,
the
I can't see. My video is completely.
Now we're back. There we go.
Okay, so let's see what happens. So I won the king of spades, played a spade. Now he shifted to a heart. So now this is the problem that Gavin was able to avoid by leading the heart from the north hand early. So now I have a heart trick basically. So I won the ace, played a heart back, drew the last trump, and then just played on clubs. He made the same duck in the club suit, which is a little bit annoying for me. But by this time, basically the second heart trick turned out to be my eighth trick.
Right, and you didn't even need to lead towards your king of diamonds in this situation,
Right.
because at this point you were able to, in a way you did lead towards your king of diamonds, because when he returned a diamond, you pitched a club from dummy.
It didn't.
But it was sort of the same difference, I suppose.